Hello, welcome to Good Work Now, your resource for finding and creating good work. Today's topic is angry leadership. Recently, there's been a desire for more civility in political discourse among our nation's leaders. This prompted me to want to focus on how leaders can more effectively be aware of and manage their anger. Joining me today will be Dr. Mitchel Adler. He is a licensed clinical psychologist, certified group psychotherapist, and the creator of Mind-Body Intelligence. He has served on the faculty of the University of California, Davis School of Medicine, and is co-author of the book Promoting Emotional Intelligence in Organizations and other research articles. He was on Good Work Now before, and it's great to have him back to join me for this conversation on angry leadership.
Hey Mitchel, it's great to have you back on Good Work Now.
It's great to be here.
And you're my second Skype guest, so this is cool. This technology is awesome.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that you're able to talk with me about this issue of anger and leadership. And today's topic is angry leadership. And let's start with the first question. What are your thoughts about what is anger? What is that?
Well, anger is an emotion. And maybe we could start with emotion. Emotion is a mental state that occurs in us spontaneously rather than oftentimes through conscious effort. And it has a cognitive component and a physiological component. Mm-hmm. And emotions just happen to us. They're an evolutionary function that helps us sense the world and our surroundings and gives us data to inform choices.
Okay.
And anger is one of our four primary emotions. And it occurs when we experience something that feels unjust or unfair in some way. And oftentimes it's associated with some kind of willful agent that's causing that. And then we get angry because we don't like what's happening.
When we feel anger, is that a good thing?
Well, you know, it's like technology. Anger isn't good or bad. It just is. It's what we do with it that actually matters.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, for instance, anger itself is a feeling. But most people associate anger with aggression, which is a behavior. Mm-hmm. And they're actually different. You can have any feeling and it not be a bad thing. It's just information and data about what your experience is, about your sensory outside, and also a combination of our own history and maybe baggage. But the feeling is different from the action. Okay. The action, like aggression, that has also sort of good and bad. Most of the time, I think it doesn't end up serving us well. But for the most part, anger is neither good nor bad. It depends on what you do with it.
So let's talk a little bit about the implications of anger for people in positions of leadership. And let's focus primarily on those individuals who have authority. As you know, leadership is available to anybody. You don't have to have authority to be a leader. But folks who have authority have a lot of power.
Absolutely.
And so what are your thoughts about folks that are angry, but they're also in positions of power? What does that mean?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about that is responsibility. That when you're in a position of power and you have authority, you have power over other folks. And in that respect, we need to take responsibility and own the power that we have and recognize that the impact of our feelings, especially anger, are going to have a ripple effect on the people that we're leading. Okay. So it's very important as a leader to be very aware of what our emotional states are, in particular anger, because it's going to set a tone as we're always role modeling when we're leading. We can create toxicity with our anger, especially when it goes underground and it's not named or stated. People feel it, they're experiencing it, but because of the power dynamic, they may not feel safe talking to you about it, which scares them and then makes them less likely to communicate important information to you because they're afraid that something negative will happen if they come approach you. Who wants to go near someone who's like kind of angry and scary when we have something that might be dangerous or threatening, when in reality it might be something that's useful for the leader to know? They need to have all information available.
So a couple of obvious implications. It's going to create a negative culture.
Yes.
Where people work in. And second, leaders are going to miss out on valuable data from employees that could really help the organization or prevent a crisis.
Yes, what we want for the people that we're leading is we want them to feel safe with us. What would be great is if they could know that when I'm angry, which can happen because I'm a human, humans get angry, it's an important emotion, I don't want you to be afraid of me. I want you to still be able to approach me and even name, if you see that I'm angry and I'm not seeing it, let me know. I want to be able to use that information because typically anger is telling me something doesn't feel fair, and if something's not feeling fair to me, I should be able to talk about it, and if I can't see it, I want to know it's there.
Let's now talk, Mitchel, about what tips can you offer leaders on managing their anger?
Okay. Well, there are three components. I can sort of talk about three components, and then I'll talk about maybe some tips.
Okay.
The three components of managing your anger is, number one, what triggers your anger? Again, it's a self-awareness thing. Knowing what your triggers are. Personally, I like to feel respected by people. But to be respected is like a subjective experience. For me, people coming late to an important meeting that I'm having, I find that disrespectful. But I might need to know the context of why they're late, because that might flesh out something that helps me not feel like I'm being disrespected. But we need to know for ourselves what are our buttons and our triggers. The second thing is that we need to know how our anger manifests in us. You know, how does it occur in us physiologically? How does it occur in us cognitively? What happens to our behaviors? Do we withdraw? Do we tend to get more aggressive? Understanding that. And then finally, how do we cope and manage with our anger?
Okay. So now we have some secrets. What are your thoughts about tips?
So some basic tips are things like, number one, I can't think of anything more important than slowing down. When you feel angry, by slowing down, taking a break, breathing, allows us to catch ourselves before we're hijacked. See, what happens when we get angry is we have our amygdala, which is our midbrain and our emotional brain, is very reactive. And then we have our prefrontal cortex, which is our part of our executive functioning. And that kind of makes us calm down and be able to think more clearly. So by slowing down, we integrate our middle prefrontal cortex, which helps us to be able to make more healthy choices. So that would be the first thing to do. The second is to not avoid the things that are making us angry. It's, again, data telling us something is unfair or unjust. So we need to check in with what's going on. If you're angry for more than 3 days, like family and the visitors, you know, after 3 days, fish and family, you got to throw it out. If you're angry for 3 days, you got to talk about it.
Okay.
Another one is to use I statements. Mm-hmm. So you need to speak to people about what your experiences is, and to say it sort of like this. When you do this, it made me feel this way. So when you come to a meeting late, it makes me feel like you don't value my time. And as a result, I feel angry. As opposed to saying, you're late, you don't care about me, you don't care, because we don't know if that's true. We don't know what the context is. So we have to understand about what their experience is, and when you do this, I feel this way.
Those three tips are terrific. Anything else, Mitchel, you can offer?
Sure. You know, as in most things, prevention is the best medicine. So if you can find yourself able to speak and assert what you need before it gets to the point where you feel resentful or frustrated, that will be very helpful. So being proactive in sharing what you need.
Okay.
Keeping an anger journal. If you find that you're getting angry more often than you want, and it's getting in your way, by keeping a journal of when you get angry, what's triggering it, that will help you get more of that self-awareness. And then finally, when communicating, watch out for extreme words. Things like never or always. You always do this, you never do that. Try to stay as close to the data as possible and be really specific about what you're angry about when you're communicating with someone else. Okay. This way, they can actually do something about changing a behavior that might be feeling unjust or unfair to you.
Thank you for sharing those tips. Very practical. I think they'll be very helpful for our viewers. Mitchel, I want to thank you so much for being back on Good Work Now.
My pleasure. It's great to see you, Brian.
All right. Same here. Take care.
You too.